Can you believe it's really been 2 years? 2 years since the glittering silver-haired king of daytime TV, the man who was a comforting fixture on our screens every morning, saw his entire world spectacularly implode. Phillip Schofield wasn't just a presenter, he was an institution. The laughs on the This Morning sofa, the cheeky interviews, the heartfelt moments, it all felt so genuine. And then, in a flash, it was gone. The scandal, when it broke in 2023, was a cannonball through the pristine glass of his public life. An affair with a much younger colleague, the lies, the forced exit from the show he had defined for decades. It was the kind of public fall from grace that we just couldn't look away from, no matter how much we tried. Ever since, the public has been left with one massive question. What happens after that? When the cameras stop rolling, the high-powered friends stop calling, and the career you've built your entire identity on vanishes, what's left? We're finally getting a glimpse, and let's be honest, it's just as messy, heartbreaking, and profoundly human as you'd expect. From 7 figures to a starting salary. Let's start with the money, because it's the most black and white way to measure just how far he's fallen. This is the man who is reportedly earning a 7-figure salary at ITV. The kind of money that buys you mansions, endless holidays, and a life completely removed from the worries of us mere mortals. So what does his income look like now? New figures from his firm, Phillip Productions, have just been released, and the number is staggering. In the past year, to November 2024, Phillip Schofield pocketed just £20,000. Let that sink in. £20,000. That's not a down year for a TV mogul. That's a starting salary for a recent graduate. The company's tax bill was a measly £3,947, a number that speaks volumes. The tap, it seems, hasn't just been turned down, it's been ripped out of the wall. It's the kind of financial freefall that's hard to even comprehend. Imagine going from being one of the highest-paid men on television to an income that barely qualifies for a high-street credit card. It's a brutal, cold, hard dose of reality. But don't pull out the tiny violin just yet. Before you start to feel too sorry for him, there's a massive twist in the financial tale. While his income has evaporated, his wealth is a very different story. The same accounts for Phillip Productions show that the company is still sitting on net assets of £2.1 million. So no, he is not counting pennies for a loaf of bread. This £2.1 million cushion means he's financially secure, insulated from the total collapse of his career. It's a safety net woven from years of those 7-figure paychecks. And the financial web is even more complex. The accounts also show that this company is owed nearly £900,000 by another venture, Phillip Properties, which he also jointly owns. It's clear that while Phil has lost his crown, his power, and his public adoration, he hasn't lost the fortress of wealth he built during his reign. But honestly, the money isn't the most shocking part of this story, not by a long shot. The real headline, the one that tells us everything about his new life, is about the one person who hasn't left his side. The one person who, by every right, should have been the first one out the door. His wife, Stephanie. The unbreakable woman at the center of the collapse. This is where the story goes from a simple financial report to a profoundly emotional human drama. Let's refresh our memories. Phil and Stephanie married in 1993. They built a life, a beautiful family, and had 2 daughters. For decades, they were the picture of stability. Then, in 2020, Phillip famously came out as gay on the very sofa he would later be forced to leave. Even then, he was full of praise for Stephanie, the perfect person he adored. He admitted he knew he was gay when he married her, a devastating admission that reframed their entire perfect life. And then came the scandal of the affair. The betrayal was twofold and public. It wasn't just a career that died, it was the image of a family. And yet, Stephanie is still there. This isn't just a case of staying friends. She remains a director of his company. In fact, in the latest filings for Phillip Productions, the very ones detailing that £20,000 income, it was her name, not his, that appeared on the documents. Think about that. In the ashes of his career, as his financial life is being restructured, it's Stephanie who is still in the boardroom. She is still his business partner. She is still, in every legal and financial sense, tied to him. And personally, the bond appears just as strong. Phil, 63, continues to wear his wedding ring. He's been seen at the family home, a safe harbor in the storm. Sources have said that Stephanie made a choice. She reportedly chose not to file for divorce because she did not want her husband to fall any further than he already has. My goodness, read that again. After the public humiliation, after the decades of private pain, her response was compassion. It's a level of loyalty and love that is almost impossible to understand from the outside. A source put it simply, the love is still very much there. This is the real story. The £2.1 million cushions his financial fall, but it's Stephanie's unbelievable, baffling loyalty that is cushioning his human one. She is, quite literally, the last line of defense. So, what is his life now? With Stephanie and his family, including his daughters, providing a private support system, what does his public life look like? It's complicated. On the one hand, he was spotted last September at a trendy Soho hotel, dining outside with his daughter Molly and a friend. He was reportedly putting on an animated display, laughing and looking like a man enjoying a moment of peace. A glimpse of the old, charismatic Phil. But then, there's the other side. Just last week, the fallen host was seen in a far less composed state. He was spotted staggering out onto a London street, clinging to a mystery man, following what was described as a day of drinking. This is the battle for Phillip Schofield, played out in public. It's the two paths in front of him, the quiet, supported family man, and the man lost in the wilderness, staggering into the night. It's been 2 years. The financial crash has been quantified, from millions to £20,000. But the human cost is still being calculated. This is no longer a story about a TV host. It's a story about a man who had everything, lost it all, and is now being held together by the one person he hurt the most. It's the ultimate story of a public fall and private loyalty. But it leaves us with one haunting question. Can a person ever be truly redeemed, or are they just well managed? What do you think?